Am I the asshole for refusing to forgive my family after they kicked me out to make space for my sisters, wedding guests? I 28M have never been what you'd call the favorite in my family. That spot's been reserved for my younger sister, Rachel to 6F, since we were kids. She was the golden child, the pretty, bubbly, social media girl who always got exactly what she wanted. I was the quiet one. The one who got decent grades, worked after-school jobs, helped my parents with errands, and got ignored for most of it. To be clear, I'm not bitter about being different from my sister. What stings is how differently you were treated because of it. Growing up, if Rachel got a B on a test, it was, "We're so proud of you, sweetie." If I got an A, it was, "Okay, but why not an A?" She crashed her car at 17. My parents bought her a new one within 2 weeks. I had to save up for years just to get a used Honda, that kind of thing. Still, I tried not to let it get to me. I stayed in my lane. I worked hard, graduated from college with no debt thanks to scholarships and working part-time, and landed a solid job in tech. Life was stable, not flashy, but stable. Then everything kind of fell apart. 6 months before my sister's wedding, I lost my job in a massive round of layoffs. It was devastating. I'd been with the company for 4 years, and it was the foundation of everything: my apartment, my savings, my sense of security. To make things worse, my girlfriend of 3 years broke up with me about a month later. Said she couldn't deal with where I was mentally and didn't want to feel like my caretaker. I was in a rough spot. I had to swallow my pride and move back home with my parents temporarily. I offered to pay what I could for rent and helped out with chores and errands. I wasn't just sitting around. I was applying to jobs constantly, doing freelance gigs where I could, even driving for Uber some nights. But from the start, I could tell they didn't want me there. Not in a hostile way, just like I was an inconvenience. My mom kept saying things like, "Well, you should be getting interviews by now," and my dad kept joking that I was living like a college kid again. Rachel, of course, acted like I didn't exist unless she needed something like help moving furniture for her wedding decor or someone to fix her Wi-Fi. Speaking of the wedding, that was the event of the year. Rachel was marrying some rich finance bro she met on a brand sponsorship trip. Let's call him Ethan. Think designer suits, private jet selfies. Our wedding hashtag is a lifestyle kind of guy. I had nothing against him personally, other than the fact that he treated everyone like an audience and Rachel like a trophy. But hey, she seemed happy, and that was what mattered. The wedding was a huge production. They rented out a vineyard, had a planner coordinating every detail, bridesmaids flying in from out of state, rehearsal dinners, spa weekends, the whole deal. My parents were absolutely glowing. They'd taken out a small loan to help fund the wedding, maxed out a couple of credit cards, and were acting like they were the Kennedys. Meanwhile, I was still sleeping in my childhood bedroom trying to figure out how to rebuild my life. Then, 3 weeks before the wedding, my parents sat me down. I thought maybe they were going to ask how I was holding up or offer help with job leads. Instead, my mom cleared her throat and said, "So we need to talk about your room." My stomach dropped. They told me they needed my room for some out-of-town guests coming in for Rachel's wedding. Apparently, Ethan's cousins and some very important people didn't want to pay for a hotel. The plan was to turn my room into a guest suite. They needed me out in 7 days. I thought they were joking at first. When I realized they were serious, I asked where exactly they expected me to go. My dad shrugged and said, "You're resourceful. Maybe stay with a friend for a bit." My mom added, "It's just temporary, a few weeks, max. After the wedding, we can figure something out." I reminded them I didn't have the money for a new place yet, that I was still job hunting, and that being kicked out with less than a week's notice could literally put me on the street. And then my mom said the words that burned into my brain forever. "Jake, this is Rachel's moment. Please don't make it about you." There it was. I was disposable, a placeholder, an obstacle in the way of their precious fairytale wedding. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just nodded, stood up, and walked back to my room. I had 7 days to disappear so they could make my bed with fresh sheets and scented candles for people who didn't even know my name, so I left. I packed what I could into my beat-up Corolla. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, a few sentimental things. I left behind furniture, books, even framed photos I'd had since college. My parents didn't offer to help me move. My dad just nodded when I walked out the front door. My mom said, "We'll be in touch after the wedding." Okay. That was the last thing she said to me for almost a year. At first, I tried to stay with a couple of old college friends. One let me crash on his couch for a few nights, but he had a kid and a wife and it wasn't sustainable. Another friend offered a few days, but she made it clear I was putting a strain on her relationship. I didn't blame anyone, it wasn't their job to pick up the pieces, so I started sleeping in my car. It's amazing how quickly your world shrinks. When you're homeless, even temporarily, life becomes a cycle of survival. Where to park without getting towed. Where to find a bathroom, where to charge your phone. Where to wash up without looking suspicious. You become invisible and hypervisible at the same time. People avoid eye contact, but you can feel their judgment when you walk into a 24-hour diner at 2 a.m. just to sit and not be cold. I kept applying for jobs every day, library, Wi-Fi, coffee shops, anywhere with a signal. My phone battery was constantly dying, and I was terrified of missing a call. I drove Uber at night when I had the gas money, but sleeping in the car started messing with my back and my mind. Every day I told myself, just hold on a little longer. The wedding happened about 3 weeks after I left. I wasn't invited, not even as a guest, not even out of pity. I found out it was live-streamed through some influencer tie-in. The whole thing looked like a perfume commercial: white roses, drone footage, speeches about manifesting love. Rachel beamed in her $1,000 dress, Ethan held her like she was a prize, and my parents looked like royalty in custom outfits, drinking champagne in front of a mansion. I watched it from the corner booth of a diner at 11:47 p.m., stealing Wi-Fi and nursing a $2 coffee. No one noticed me. It was weird. I didn't cry. I just stared at the screen like I was watching strangers. Like I'd never been part of that family to begin with. That was the lowest point. I wasn't suicidal. But I did feel erased, forgotten, like the life I'd worked so hard to build: my education, my job, my relationship, my family had crumbled and no one even noticed the dust. The turning point came a few days later. I was standing outside a gas station brushing my teeth in the side mirror when I heard someone say, "Jake." I turned around and there was Marcus, an old coworker from my last job. We hadn't been close, but we got along well. He looked at me, then at my car, then back at me. "Dude, are you okay?" I wasn't, but I lied and said I was just in between places. To his credit, he didn't poach. He asked me to get coffee, and I reluctantly agreed. We talked for an hour. I told him the truth. Not everything, but enough. How I lost my job, how I got kicked out, how I had been trying to get back on my feet, but was running out of time and options. Marcus didn't judge me, he just listened. Then he said, "My company's hiring temp data analysts. It's contract work, but it's better than this." He gave me the hiring manager's info and said he'd vouch for me. I almost cried into my coffee. A week later, I was working again. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid. With that paycheck, I found a tiny room to rent in a shared apartment. The landlord was gruff but fair. I had 4 walls and a door that locked, a real bed, a shower. I took my first hot shower in weeks and sat on the floor wrapped in a towel for 20 minutes, just breathing. I wanted to tell someone, my parents, maybe even Rachel. Maybe just to say, I made it through, maybe to give them a chance to care. I sent my mom a text, "Hey, just wanted to let you know I'm okay. Found a place, got a contract job." Her reply came 3 hours later. "Glad to hear you're doing okay." Rachel says hi. That was it. No sorry. No we miss you. Not even a how can we help. It was like I was a neighbor they once knew. A former acquaintance, a polite obligation. That was the moment I decided I was done chasing their love. I didn't respond. I stopped checking their social media. I stopped wondering if I'd ever be invited back home. I buried the anger and focused on surviving. Every day I went to work, saved money, and reminded myself, they made their choice. Now I make mine. It's wild how much your life can change in a year. The temp job Marcus got me, it turned into a full-time position after 3 months. I worked my ass off, late nights, extra projects, even learned a few new skills just to stand out. My manager noticed, and soon I was being invited to real meetings, being given responsibilities that actually mattered. I wasn't just some charity case anymore, I was rebuilding. I found a better apartment, nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom with decent lighting and quiet neighbors. I bought a new used car, I started cooking for myself again, getting back into hobbies I dropped when everything fell apart. Hell, I even started dating someone, Leah. She was funny, thoughtful, worked in marketing, and actually listened when I talked. The first time I told her about the wedding thing, she stared at me for a long time and said, "That's not just messed up, that's biblical." We laughed about it. That was new to laughing about the past. For the first time in a long time, I felt like a person again, a full person, not just an afterthought. I didn't reach out to my family, not once. I muted their numbers. I didn't block them, I wasn't angry anymore, just done. I didn't check in on Rachel or ask about Ethan. I figured they were still doing their champagne and selfie thing, building their dream life on Instagram, while the real world carried on without them. But then, out of nowhere, I started hearing whispers. First, it was through mutual friends. A coworker who was still in touch with one of Rachel's bridesmaids mentioned that Rachel's marriage hit a rough patch. Then someone from our old neighborhood messaged me asking if I'd heard what happened. I hadn't, I didn't care. But curiosity won out, and I finally looked her up online. Her Instagram was different, the glossy couple pics were gone. The wedding highlights were archived, her bio didn't say wife anymore, it said healing one day at a time. It didn't take long to put the pieces together. Apparently, Ethan cheated. A lot. There were rumors of him messaging models behind her back and even one girl coming forward with screenshots. Some of it was public, most of it wasn't, but it was enough to end the marriage in less than a year. And the financial stuff, also true. My parents had gone into debt helping fund the wedding. Loans, credit cards, even dipped into retirement savings. The marriage crashed, but the bills stuck around. Rachel moved back in with them. The 3 of them who kicked me out for being inconvenient were now stuck in a house they could barely afford, arguing about why things went wrong. Then, like clockwork, the messages started. First it was my mom. "Hi sweetie. Just checking in. Haven't heard from you in a while. Hope all is well. Would love to catch up sometime." Then Rachel, "Hey, I know we've had our ups and downs, but I've been thinking a lot about things. I'd really love to reconnect. Things are complicated right now." Even my dad, who had never texted me unless it involved picking up milk, sent a short message. "Heard you're doing well. Proud of you. Let's talk." I ignored them all. 3 days later, they showed up at my apartment. No warning, just a knock at the door on a Saturday morning. I opened it, and there they were, my mom holding a Tupperware of cookies, my dad in one of his old polo shirts, Rachel looking like she hadn't slept in a week. My mom smiled like this was a sitcom reunion. "Jake," she said, "you look wonderful." I didn't invite them in. They launched into a whole thing, how things had been so difficult lately, how they'd made mistakes, how they were just trying to hold the family together. Rachel even teared up and said, "I never realized how much we hurt you." I listened, silent, nodding. Then my dad said, "It's time we put the past behind us. We're family." That was it. That was the moment something in me snapped, not with anger, just clarity. Cold, clear, calm. I looked at them and said, "You didn't just hurt me, you discarded me. I begged you for help, and you kicked me out so strangers could sleep in my bed. I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car while you were posing for wedding pictures and sipping champagne." They tried to interrupt. I raised a hand. "You didn't text to check in, you didn't care. And now that your perfect life fell apart, you're here because I'm doing okay, because I got back on my feet without you. You want the benefits of me rebuilding while skipping the part where you left me to drown." Rachel started crying. My mom's lip trembled. My dad looked away. I stepped back and closed the door, not slamming it, not with drama. Just firmly, completely. They didn't knock again. It's been 3 months since that door closed. I haven't heard from them since, not my parents, not Rachel. They haven't texted, called, emailed, or sent any more surprise visits. Maybe they finally got the message. Maybe they're waiting for me to come crawling back again, but I won't. Because here's the thing, I'm not angry anymore, not really. Anger kept me alive for a while, kept me moving, grinding, rebuilding. But now, I'm just done. Done trying to earn love that should have been given. Done pretending family means anything if it only works one way. Leah and I are still together. She knows everything now. She helped me talk to a therapist and work through all the stuff I buried, years of being treated like I was never enough. She even helped me set boundaries I didn't realize I needed. I've got real friends now, people who check in on me without needing anything in return. And I'm doing well. I got promoted last month. Moved into a nicer apartment. I take walks at night and don't worry about where I'll sleep. I cook dinner most nights, read before bed, sometimes even help Marcus with interviews at work. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine. I built it. And now I'm writing this because part of me still wonders, did I go too far? Should I have at least heard them out, let them come in, talk, maybe offer an apology in full? I know they're struggling. I know Rachel's been through her own kind of hell with the divorce. And my parents, well, they're getting older. There won't always be time left to fix things. But every time I think about forgiving them, I go back to that night, sleeping in my car, watching my sister's wedding livestream while I ate cold noodles in a plastic container, pretending I didn't exist. So rate it. I have to ask, am I the asshole for refusing to forgive my family after they kicked me out to make room for wedding guests, and for closing the door, and they tried to come back into my life? If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.